Hello everyone, this is Meena Chantyal, and in this video we're gonna talk about all the note-taking activities, note-taking strategies. So I took notes, like I took handwritten notes. I'm gonna talk about that like this, and then I also took notes in my iPad with the help of OneNote. So we're gonna talk about that too. I think while studying for the CPA exam, note taking is one of the most crucial thing in the study process, because that's gonna help you understand the concept, memorize it, and it's also the place that you constantly go back to. And also don't forget to watch the video till the end, because I'm gonna share tips and I'm gonna share my experience of how I used to take notes, like the handwritten notes and the digital notes in OneNote, and I will at the end I will summarize the whole thing so that it's more helpful to you and you can apply the things that I told in a way that's more helpful to you. Okay, let's go. I had my notes in my laptop, in my iPad, and also in the physical notebook. So this is my iPad, and I had my most of my notes in OneNote. This is my diary, and I took handwritten notes on this one, and I have this habit to write, like physically write on papers, so I cannot rely fully on my iPad. So this is also something I have been doing from the beginning to the end. Let me talk about my physical notes first. So one of the reasons why I bought this was because of what it wrote in the cover, as you can see, and then this is what the first page says. So let's dive into my note taking for the physical notes. As you can see that at first I had a very detailed note, but then I realized that it was just too much for me. Like I was taking really long time to have my notes ready, and then it was very time consuming. I just felt like I was spending a lot of my time on note taking. So as I went on studying, I just changed the way I used to take notes. But there was one thing that was constant, was that I color coded my notes, so I knew what was the topic, what was the detailed explanations and things like that. But the more I made notes, the more you will see that it is changing. And this is the note for all 4 sections. Like this is my note for all the 4 sections of the CPA exam, and it's not finished. So like there are still few pages remaining. So what I can say is that these notes are not detailed, because if it were detailed, there was no way that I could fit all the CPA sections, all the sections of CPA exam in one note, right? Okay, so let's dive into my notes for auditing. So auditing was my first section of my CPA exam, and at first I was making detailed notes, as you can see. Like I would color code it, and then I would highlight those things and make sure that my notes, the explanations are different from the topics, and I would also make sure the topics are different from other topics. It was that detailed. But then as I go on making notes, I was like, I was taking so long to make notes, and that's not why I was making notes for. I was making notes so that I can remember things. And then I started to put the sticky notes, and then I would just write it, and then I would compare it to the original ones and how correct that was. And that's how, and I tried to make it as with figures as much as possible, so that when I look at it, I understand what's going on. As I went on making notes, as you can see, like they are getting less and less detailed and more based on pictures. And what I used to do was I would make notes as I would study, but later I just changed that habit. I would study and then I would make notes in the iPad, and then this was more like a summary, I would say. after I finished studying for the that chapter, I would say, okay, last revision, and then I would just make like all the things that I would remember, and then put sticky notes over here like saying last revision, and then I would just write everything related to that topic, all the things that I remember. So it's not like you make note for future reference. It's more like you make notes based on what you remember, and then I would compare that to what it really is. Like, so it's like I would make figures for everything, then angles, so that when I see it, I remember what's going on. And then the more I make notes, the more summarized it gets. I worry less about my handwriting and more about what that is, and mix like little notes instead of a detailed ones like this one. So I spent a lot of time like how it would go, like I would make it here and then there, and then make sure I would change what happens if this thing changes. It's like for I would focus more on understanding why these things happen instead of memorizing these things. Oh yeah, and then in between I saw one of the YouTube videos explaining how you can memorize more if you make like these arrows and circles and triangles and things like that. So after some time my notes would look like this, like, oh okay, so this is the main topic, this is the fair value, and then this is the hierarchy, and then these are a lot of different things. So I wouldn't make notes like this. I would make notes like this, and then interesting things starts to happen because I started to draw. Like, the artist in me suddenly woke up or something like that, because like this. See? So I was actually making small people in my notebook, and they are either smiling or crying or things like that. My notes started to evolve, and I would say the same thing will go to yours. Don't try to make a perfect note on your first try, because if you do try to make perfect notes, you're going to spend a lot of time like me. So I think this whole notebook, the most I have notes is for audit, and then the more I go on making notes, I have like less and less notes, and then I have more drawings, more colors and things like that. So this is my physical note, so I would just summarize it. But this note is more like a summary for what you remember than a note for future reference. Now let me talk how I used to take notes in my iPad with the help of Microsoft OneNote. This is my note for audit, and at first I used to upload my book from the Surgeon CPA review app, and then from the note from Superfast CPA. I also used to make different tabs for my study strategy and diagnosis report from the Surgeon CPA review app. I used to make a different section for all the mistakes that I did so far, and used to write the notes just like by the side of the mistakes. And as you can see, I have different sections for each of the topics, and also have subsections of those topics. It was really helpful to jump from one topic to another topic, because I could see everything like as soon as I opened the Microsoft OneNote. I can jump from one topic to another topic, and the topics that I don't know and had problems like really easily. Now let's talk about how I used to make note from the mistakes that I did. So this is an example. So suppose I am doing a question, and then I would pick one of the answer, right? And then for example I pick this one, and if you want to read the question, that's okay. And I picked this question, and I said I would submit that one. So this is something that I like way before when I was studying for the exam. So I just like record the screen randomly. So for example I chose this one, and then it turns out that's incorrect. And as you can see that it has a whole detail of why is it wrong. I would screenshot it and then I would move it to my notes in the Microsoft OneNote, and then I would expand it. That way it will match to the size of other answers, and then I would copy the question number. This is important because this way if I made this question wrong again, I can search the number and I would know that this is something that I did wrong before as well. And then I would highlight all the important thing from the questions, like the main aspect of the questions, and then I would read each of the answers very carefully, and then also read and make a note of the explanations. I would go one line one by one, and then I would read it, and then I would underline it, highlight it, box it, whatever it's needed, so that it would get stuck in my head and I know why the answer is wrong. Because when I chose it, I had a reason why it was correct, and now that it's wrong, I would want to know why is it wrong. And then for each of the options I would write like why is this wrong. So this is really important because the next time I know that I wouldn't choose it, because I know not only do I know why is it right, but also why is it wrong. I'm still making note for each of the options in there, and I think this OneNote is really helpful in that one because it's synced automatically, and also like you don't have to copy all the questions and answers and then handwrite it and waste your time. Instead, you can focus on actually writing over the answers. That way you are saving the time and also you are letting yourself know why is it wrong and why is it right, instead of just wasting your time rewriting the questions or rewriting the answers. And then I would, as you saw that, I would create a tab on that one, and then I would send that questions to the certain CPA review team, and I would continue the same technique in the second questions. So what I would do is I would paste notes and sticky notes around my decks, study decks, so that I can have a look around it when I'm working or before I go to sleep. So what it would do is it would help me retain the things, and because I do it like right before my exam, I think it's helping me to remember those things more, because I can be working or I can just have a look before I sleep. Now let's do the summary. So what I did first was I would use Microsoft OneNote to take my notes, right? So how I would use OneNote is, at first I would do MCQs, make note of it, make note from MCQs, and at the end of the day I would do a cumulative MCQs, and by that I would make a note of all the mistakes. And then what I would do is, after I finish the chapter, I would use my physical notebook to have a summary of the chapter. And then 1 week before the exam, I would use sticky notes and paste around my study area to retain important stuff. Yep, that's it, and I hope that these things will help you too. Thank you for watching. I hope you find this helpful, and if it was, please let me know. And thank you for watching. Please do like, subscribe, and share.